Hi, this is Thomas Feng with Bay Area Connect. This week we're ending our series on the home buying process. Last week we ended off on final loan approval. So this week we're moving from final loan approval to the actual closing. And today here to talk with us is Joe Lima of Princeton Capital.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you, Joe. So first question, how does the loan process wrap up in the end?
Well, once you receive final loan approval, loan documents will be sent over to the escrow company handling the transaction. The escrow company will then take these documents, review them, and prep up what's most importantly, the final estimated HUD. This will be like the buyer's receipt for the transaction. It's going to include the purchase price, loan amount, all fees associated with the transaction for title and escrow and lender fees, any credits from the seller, any prepaid or property taxes due at that time. It'll also have prepaid interest. This prepaid interest is like the buyer paying for a mortgage payment up front. For example, someone closing today at the early part of May will have to prepay for the 20 some odd days remaining for the end of a month, which in a sense will pay for their June mortgage payment. So the buyer moving in today will not have a mortgage payment until July 1st. Most importantly, this HUD will also show the funds that are needed at closing.
Well, what Joe just talked about with us is what is actually on the HUD one. So a lot of the costs that the buyer is taking on will be outlined in this whole document. A lot of buyers, when the first time they buy a home, they're really anticipating on what is going to happen at the final closing. So Joe, why don't you take us through this whole process at the end and what actually happens at the closing table?
Yeah, after escrow prepares the final estimated HUD, they'll set up a closing with a notary public. Most of the time it's going to be the escrow officer handling that transaction, so the buyer will go to the actual escrow office to sign these documents. The notary will be there to confirm their identity. At the closing, they will review the HUD, make sure everything matches up to what their loan officer explained to them at the very beginning. They'll also go into the most important loan documents that are going to be in there are the note, which shows the interest rate, the mortgage payment, and the actual loan amount. And there'll also be a deed of trust, and this will confirm who is going to actually be the legal owners with the county and be officially recorded as the owners of the property. So that they will go through and sign these documents and then move forward with the transaction.
Great. So Joe just went over the actual documents that will be signed at the closing table, and these include the HUD one that we just talked about, the notes, which will have your interest and payments on that, and also the deed of trust. However, what about the closing costs, Joe? When do those actually come in, and how does funding for the loan work?
Very good question. The closing costs will be, as well as the funds to close, will be on that estimated HUD. So it'll be shown to the buyer when they go into close, as well as they've been prepped along the way as far as how much they'll get an idea of what they should be expecting to bring in. Those funds to close should be brought in as soon as possible after the closing, so there is no delay in the actual funding. When I say funding, what will happen is once the borrower signs those documents, escrow will then take them and review them, make sure the signatures match up. They will take out what is needed to be recorded with the county, what they need for their paperwork side, and package up everything off and ship it off to the lender. The lender will then take it, review it again, make sure the signatures match up, and then have it ready for funds to be dispersed. Once escrow is ready for those funds, the loan amount will then be wired over to the escrow. Escrow will confirm the wire, confirm the receipt of the funds to close, and then record the loan or record the property with new owners with the county. This whole process will take about 2 to 3 days, and depending on the county that it's with and the escrow company that you're working with. So once it's recorded with the new buyers as the new official owners, the loan is done, the financing is complete, and it then turns over to your real estate agent to get the keys and move into the property.
Great. So at this time, all the loan documents have been finalized. Everything is done with on that side. At this point, the buyer actually takes possession of the home. So some couple points to remember when you actually take possession of the home. A lot of them point towards safety. So as a new buyer in your new home, you want to be safe, especially with family. You want to be safe in that new home. So these are a lot of key points to remember when moving in. Always change the locks on all the exterior doors. This is just so prior agents or prior people who've been to the house to seen open houses, they can't get in. Also make sure to check all the windows and doors. Make sure they close freely, open freely, and they also all have locks. Another thing to remember, install smoke detectors on all levels. If it's a multi-level home, make sure to have one downstairs and upstairs, and also have carbon monoxide detectors as well. Make sure to examine all interior and exterior areas for potential hazards where people may trip. Make sure to get those taken care of and fixed as well. That is the end of our home buying series. We hope that throughout this series we've been able to educate and inform you, the buyer, on how to make the proper decisions and to really streamline the whole process to give you all the important points that you need to know. If you have any questions or concerns about this whole series or our videos in general, please leave a question or comment under the video. If you have any questions that you would like to email us, please shoot us an email at thomas.feng@bayareaconnect.com. Well, that's all for this week, Joe. Thank you and have a great day.
All right.